Hello and welcome to our vocab list number 5, good acting techniques. So we've gone over everything you should be avoiding on the stage, and now we're going to be talking about the things that you definitely should be doing on the stage. Let's get right to it. First off is acting process. Specific choices an actor makes to bring the character to life. So these are the choices that you make in order to make your character more than just a two-dimensional flat character. Things like inventing your own backstory or giving them specific speech patterns that aren't maybe in the script. Those are all part of the acting process. Aside, a line delivered to the audience that isn't meant to be heard by other performers on the stage. Usually this is marked in the script itself in parentheses. It usually says aside before you say your line. And this is when you are breaking that fourth wall on purpose and you are talking to the audience because you want them to know something that the other members of the cast don't know. Blocking. Setting the movements of actors on a stage or set. Blocking is one of those things that you have to do for every single scene and every single show so that the actors know where they're going and when they're going there. A lot of the things that you did for your script scoring had to do with the blocking. Building a scene. Using increased tempo, volume, and/or emphasis to bring a scene to a climax. So when you're building a scene, that means that you were about to come to some really big discovery or something exciting is about to happen on the stage, and we need to build the scene. We need to start talking faster, we need to start talking louder, we need to put emphasis on certain words so that by the time we get to the end of the scene, we have that good climax. Business. Any specific action other than changing location performed on stage. So when you're talking about business, that means that you're not moving. It just means that you might be picking something up, opening a book, looking at someone or something. All sorts of different movements that you might make that aren't changing your physical location on the stage is business. Cheat out. When an actor positions themselves toward the audience so they can be seen and heard better. So that means if you are supposed to be facing another character on the stage completely, which means you would be just completely side profile to the audience, what you're going to do is you're going to cheat out. You're actually going to turn your body slightly so that you are facing the audience, so you're more diagonal than actually just side profile to the audience. That's called cheating out. Countering. A blocking change by an actor to rebalance the stage in reaction to another actor's movement. So if one actor is on stage left and the other is on stage right, and the first actor moves to the center of the stage, then the stage is now kind of unbalanced. So the second actor might move toward the center, or they might move farther away from the other actor in order to counter that blocking change to make the stage more balanced. Covering. Now, we talked about the bad covering last week. This time we're going to talk about the good covering. Positive use of improvisation to hide from the audience any form of mistake. So, this is one of the only times you should be ad-libbing on stage. If someone makes a mistake and you need to keep the play going and not have any big, strange gaps in the dialogue or in the movements, you need to cover for them. That's when you improvise and try to make sure the audience doesn't realize that a mistake was even made. Dialect. A regional accent that is often adopted by actors to make the role more believable. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a dialect from the South or from England, that is a regional actor because that character might be from that area. Dialogue. A verbal exchange among at least two actors. Again, very self-explanatory. You know what a dialogue is. Hitting your mark. Stopping one's body or placing an object on the exact spot it belongs. Very frequently when you're doing a play or a musical, you'll have to mark the stage in certain ways with tape or paint so that you know exactly where a person is supposed to be in a certain scene. And when you make sure that you get right there at the exact right time, then you have hit your mark. Holding for laughs. Waiting for the audience to quiet down after a funny line or a scene. So this makes sense. When you have said something really funny or done something really funny, the audience is going to laugh at you. If you just keep on talking in the next line, or you don't wait for them to finish laughing, then the next line is going to be inaudible. So you have to hold for their laugh and wait till they quiet down before you continue. You see this a lot on sitcoms where they have a laugh track. Master gesture, a distinctive action that serves as a clue to a character's personality. Now, a lot of different master gestures could be holding a certain item or using their hands in a certain way. Their posture might be a master gesture that serves as a way to differentiate them from other characters and make you understand that character just a little bit better. Method acting, using experiences from an actor's personal life to help produce on-stage emotion. So this is when you have to be really sad and you're crying in a scene, and the way you do that is you think about a time that you were sad and you cried, and hopefully that makes you give that emotion on the stage a bit more strongly, a bit more realistically, and that is method acting. Milking, drawing the maximum response from the audience from comic lines or action. When you milk your lines, that means that you have something that's really funny, for instance, and you really kind of mug for the audience, and you're making it as funny as possible, and the audience is going to laugh even more with every small thing you do. You're really milking their response. Monologue, a longer speech used by a single actor without breaks for dialogue, often used for auditions. That's one of the things that you guys are doing for your performing benchmark, is you are creating your own monologue. Offbook, when an actor has all of their lines memorized in a production. So if we were in a regular year, you guys would have a script, and I would say, okay, I want scene 1 to be off book by this date, and at that time you wouldn't be able to use your script for that scene. Peas and carrots, a background actor muttering nonsense phrases to simulate real speech. For instance, you might say peas and carrots, you might say watermelon, and you just repeat that very quietly, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots. The reason you do that is you're trying to create a very small amount of noise, and you're trying to look like you are talking. You're having a conversation with somebody in the background, but you don't want to have actual words that might confuse the audience and make them look at you instead of the main characters. So you're muttering these words like watermelon, 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 and your mouth is moving like you're actually having a real conversation. Profile, a performer facing stage right or left, leaving only half of their face visible. So like we talked about with cheating out, when you are in profile, they can only see one half of your face. When you then cheat out, you can move yourself just a little bit so they can see just a tiny bit more of your face. Soliloquy, monologue that usually represents the inner workings of one character's perspective. So this is a type of monologue where it wouldn't be somebody actually talking out loud, usually. They're giving the audience a bit of an understanding of what they're thinking. And you have a lot of soliloquies in Shakespeare, for instance, and they're just talking about how they feel and what they think, rather than what they would normally say out loud. Stage whisper, whisper during a show that is supposed to be heard by the audience. You guys have all heard a stage whisper before. It's when you're talking like this. You pretend that you're whispering, but you're not really, because the audience still needs to hear your voice. Stretching a character, making a role unique, individual, and interesting. All right, so your acting process and your master gestures and your method acting all go into stretching a character, making it so that you have a character that is very interesting to watch. When the audience leaves the theater at the end of the show, they might say, oh man, that character, that was my favorite because they were so interesting to watch. And that means that you've stretched your character successfully. Subtext, the true feeling behind the words that a character is saying. So you might have subtext to a conversation where one person is trying to hide that they're angry, but the way they speak, the words they use, give it away. And you can really tell from that subtext that they're angry, even though they never say, I'm angry. Taking the stage, using the entire stage during a lengthy speech. One of the things you have to avoid when you have a monologue or a soliloquy is staying in one place, because the audience is going to get bored real fast if you're just talking and talking and talking and not moving. So when you take the stage, you're moving around. You're being a dynamic thing to watch so that the audience will not lose interest. They'll keep listening to what you're saying because you took the stage. And finally, topping a line, responding to a cue with more volume and energy. That means when somebody has a line that already is very energetic, very loud, that you respond with a line that is even louder, that has more energy, and that means you've topped the line. You continue to go back and forth and add more energy and more energy. That might be what's happening when you're building that scene. You might be topping the line one after the other until you get to the end of that scene. So these are all of our good acting techniques words for this week. I'll just come on back to Google Meet.